Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for another episode of PRI Talk. Today, I want to give you just a little bit of advice for June 15th, for you about to be juniors on this day, that you can actually talk to college coaches. Today's a very exciting day for most of you and for college coaches as well. Hopefully you are excited about it. You might be a little bit anxious and nervous about today as well. And just remember that college coaches are feeling a little bit of that too, because they've been waiting for months to be able to talk to you guys on the phone and be able to text you and things like that. So there is some anxiety and some nervousness on both sides. But just want to give you some advice about today. First thing, do as much as you can today, but do not wear yourself out, okay? If you are trying to have 10, 12, 15 phone calls in a day, it's just too much. You really need to make sure you're limiting yourself to what you can actually do today physically. The other part about that is if you have plans, some of you might have plans or like practice on today as well, that's okay. Do not think that you have to rush over to your phone to answer the phone if you have practice or if you have other plans. Again, you are able to text college coaches and communicate with them in that way. So if you do miss a phone call because you are planning on doing something else or you have something else planned, that is totally fine. Feel free to text that coach and let them know when you're going to be available again for a phone call, and let them know how excited you are to talk to them. One of the other things that I try to communicate to athletes about June 15th is give yourself a few minutes after a phone call to kind of decompress, okay? Write down a few notes, maybe a couple questions that you're like, man, that was a good question. I want to make sure I'm prepared to answer that question again. What are some new things that you found out about the school that you liked? Did you hate talking to that coach? Or what are some new things that you learned about the school that you didn't know before? But write down some notes. Do some self-evaluation on maybe how you did. Were you answering questions in full sentences, or were you just answering yes or no? Things like that. Give yourself some feedback so that you can be ready for the next phone call. But try to take, maybe a little break. Again, 5 minutes decompressing, making some notes. Maybe do something else, walk around the house, get a snack, right? Try not to do like back-to-back phone calls, because you're just going to get stressed out. It's going to be very repetitive. In some ways, you're going to be answering a lot of the same questions and be talking about a lot of the same things. And it can be really draining. And by your third or fourth phone call, even on that day, you might come off as someone that's bored or not engaged or not interested, okay? And so it is important to give yourself a little bit of a break so that you are fresh for every phone call, because these are first impressions that you're having with college coaches, and you want to make sure that they are good first impressions. So hopefully you did as much prep work as you could before the phone calls. Obviously, you can't know everything. You can't know exactly who's going to text you, email you, and give you phone calls. But as much work as you can do today, as far as, hey, if a school emails you and you've never heard of them or you've never researched that school at all, give yourself some time to do a little bit of digging about the school so that you are prepared, right? If they send you a text or send you an email and you need a little bit of time to do some research, that's okay. Don't feel like you have to talk to every single coach on June 15th, okay? The other thing too is don't expect every coach to handle June 15th the same way, all right? You're going to get some schools that have been sending you emails for months and weeks prior to June 15th. And then they might just send you a, hey, this is June 15th, we can talk to you now, yay, and that's it. And they don't set up a phone call or don't set up anything like that. And you might get some other coaches that haven't emailed you at all. haven't sent you anything, not even a questionnaire or a camp invite, and they call you on June 15th and want to talk to you that day, and maybe they offer you on June 15th, right? So there's extremes kind of on both end, and so don't necessarily expect every coach to handle June 15th the same way. Some coaches are going to get you on the phone right away. They're going to text you at midnight, and they're going to want to set up a phone call for 8:15. Okay, and there's other coaches, they're going to email and text you like on the 16th and say, hey, definitely want to chat this week. When's good for you, right? So make sure that you are paying attention to your email, paying attention to your text messages, emailing coaches back, responding, things like that. All that is important to communicating with college coaches. So I hope that helps a little bit. But again, today, don't be anxious. Don't be stressed out. Everything's going to be fine. Do your work, ask good questions, have good engaging conversations with college coaches, and you're going to do great.